together again. We're all good.
That's amazing.
All right. So,
What do you look like? It sucked anyway.
oh, f you. F me? You know what? Mom never even liked you.
Dirty Dan. Dirty Dan. Dirty Dan. I'm Dirty Dan. I don't know what you mean. I'm Dirty Dan.
It's absolutely amazing.
I'm Dirty Dan.
Whoa, Dirty Dan.
Let's see this though. Let's see what really happened, why they broke up for real. Oh yeah, duh, nigga. Of course, Disney Channel.
On the set of the iconic Nickelodeon sitcom Drake and Josh,
forgot
the
about
two
this.
boys
Yeah.
seemed to be best friends, but that wasn't exactly the case. One was going through some of the darkest atrocities imaginable, and
I
the
knew
other
that.
was also experiencing an extremely complicated childhood, but they did not tell each other what was going on.
This Drake look crazy right here. What the fuck? See that dude, like he can eat. Yeah, but what the fuck? What's the? Yeah, this nigga look kind of crazy. I ain't gonna hold you.
And as a result, the two had one of the most catastrophic public
Now this shit looks like. This is what they look like currently, versus what we just saw. I'd say Ozempic and drugs, alcohol, PTSD, pills, and yeah, sadness. He was chubby then the show. Yeah, he was. He was chubby when the show started. Hell yeah, he was. Actually, he was. I don't think about it. You're right. Just think it was. He was chubby as hell.
falling outs in Nickelodeon history. For years, fans have wondered exactly what went wrong. Why their relationship
Sorta
soured,
kinda like
and
that.
recently they came together and discussed everything on a 2-hour podcast that connected all of the missing pieces that we were left in the dark about for decades. While most celebrity stories and feuds feel unrealistic and manicured to fuel public interest, the story of Drake and Josh's complicated relationship is very relatable. Sure, none of us can truly relate to the pressure of being a child star while also dealing with the horrors behind the scenes, but the complications
he was
between
over there
Drake
being
and Josh
Schneider.
resemble a difficult relationship that you might have with a friend, uncle, cousin, or other family member. One that follows a cycle of love, hate, tension, animosity, remorse, guilt, and reconciliation. Drake and Josh's story is not some fleeting celebrity drama. So today we're going to discuss the entire thing while addressing all of the nuances and complications of a real-life relationship. Drake and Josh's lifelong
that was a young
relationship
iCarly.
started from the very first time they met. Drake did not like Josh, and Josh was determined to win him over. The then 14-year-old boys met on the set of The Amanda Show, which was a sketch comedy television program that was essentially the kid-friendly version
Oh
of Saturday Night
yeah,
Live,
shout out
starring
Amanda
Amanda
Show. That was a good one
Bell
too.
was a part of the cast since
Amanda
its
Show
first
was pretty
episode
good.
in 1999, while Peck didn't join as a regular until later seasons.
I came on the Amanda Show. We didn't get along at first, but I thought you were so cool, and I really wanted you to like me. And then, thankfully, we had this shared love of old school comedy and
some
sitcoms
lobsters.
and great
Hell yeah! Oh
television.
yeah, bring
And
up the
so once you
DMC
realized that
lobsters.
I was kind of funny, and I liked people who liked funny. We were suddenly like inseparable.
Yeah.
At first, Drake was almost second to
That
Amanda,
shit too.
and Josh came on as a tertiary character that they would sometimes make fun of. But once Drake and Josh had to collaborate on a sketch as two Italian mobsters, they realized their comedic chemistry was undeniable.
Pony pajamas, what's your problem, Big Tails?
Yeah, what's your problem, Big Tail? I can't sleep. You want I should put her out?
Not yet.
Hey, cannoli? No, I just want to hear a bedtime story. She just wants to hear a bedtime story.
Hey, I got it.
He's got his.
And 25 years later, that chemistry is still there.
She wants to hear about a story.
Oh, you want to hear a story? I got a story.
And he
All
goes-
right, so you got this. There's this guy, right? He's driving his bike and he falls off, and his kickstand goes right through his leg.
right through his leg.
Drake was an old soul as a kid, and became a huge fan of classic buddy comedies such as Abbott and Costello and Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Drake dreamed of one day having a comedy sidekick, and he officially found his match. The two boys
I hate
became good
driving
friends
bike.
off screen as well. They would go bowling bowling, hang out after hours, and even have sleepovers.
Yeah,
The
I'm
Amanda
driving
Show
a
became
bike.
the highest rated live action program on Nickelodeon during its run, and while this may seem like an amazing way to start a child
Yeah,
acting
Amanda Show was
career,
dope. I
Drake
forgot
was
about that one.
suffering unimaginable trauma as a file had infiltrated the
Yeah, he was being
network.
Schneidered.
It's very important to remember that the general public was not aware of the information that you're about to learn until 2024 when it was discussed in a documentary called Quiet on Set. This documentary drastically changed everything that people
I do
thought
remember
they
that
knew
too.
about Drake Bell. Drake Bell formed a bond with dialogue coach Brian Peck during the second season of The Amanda Show. Peck, who has no relation to Drake's co-star Josh Peck, would invite Drake to his house for acting lessons. These lessons were supervised by Drake's father, Joe, who was told that Brian Peck was a skilled coach who could help Drake secure more acting opportunities. However, over time, Joe became uncomfortable with their relationship.
And unfortunately, I started seeing Brian start to just hang around Drake too much. And it didn't set well with me. Drake would be in the dressing room or something, and in would pop Brian, and just touch Drake. You know, do things that, wait a second, what are you doing? Drake can put that on himself.
Wait a
This is in
second.
front of people.
That's not
Joe
funny.
claims that while his son was in the dressing room, Brian would
That's not
touch
funny.
Drake in front of others in ways that made him question Brian's intentions. Joe expressed his concerns with the production
why he
personnel
say it like
and said
that,
he was
though.
uncomfortable with Brian, only to
Instead of being like that, I would have been like, "Hey, nigga, nigga, the fuck." This nigga said, "Wait a second. What do you mean?" That's what kind of made me chuckle a little bit. Like, nigga, that's your response to that? Wait a second. Like, Nick, come on, bro. Tee up. That's what made me chuckle, not the situation. Dead ass.
be called homophobic because of Brian's sexual orientation. Therefore, Joe backed off. Once this got back to Brian, he manipulated Drake into severing ties with his father/manager, suggesting that Joe was sabotaging Drake's career. Peck subsequently integrated himself into multiple areas of Bell's life and became a father figure for the young actor. Eventually, Peck convinces Drake's mother to let him stay at his house during auditions. Then when Drake slept on Brian's couch, the sexual assault started.
I was sleeping on the couch where I would usually sleep, and I woke up to him. I just opened my eyes, I woke up, and he was sexually assaulting me. Why don't you think of the worst stuff that someone can do to somebody as a sexual assault? And that'll answer your question.
Drake wouldn't tell anyone for several months. The abuse persisted until Drake began spending more time at a girlfriend's
Some Diddy
house.
shit.
One day, when he was supposed to meet with Brian, Drake said he didn't want to hang out. Brian
Schneider
then started
Diddy
calling
shit.
his phone nonstop.
Diddy
When
Schneider.
Drake failed to answer, Brian obsessively started calling his girlfriend's house, which is when the girlfriend's mother suspected something was wrong and took Drake to her family therapist. He later detailed the abuse to his own mother, who called the police. I had to be excruciatingly detailed about every single thing and time that it had happened with two absolute strangers. The worst part was I had to make a phone call to Brian and get him to admit what he'd done. The police monitored a wired phone call with Brian, who broke into a full-on confession that led to his arrest. The investigation was conducted privately, and Bell remained unidentified to the public for several years due to his age at the time. Drake also refused to tell anyone what was going on, not even his best bro Josh. As if this situation couldn't get any more traumatic and confusing for Drake, before the trial he also needed to return to Nickelodeon Studios to begin filming for his next major role on Drake and Josh.
That big break between Drake and Josh and Amanda Show is when I told my mom what was going on. We went to the police, the investigation, all of the stuff that you saw in the documentary. That was when all of that was going on. And then when we shot the pilot, we were in the middle of the investigation, but nobody had known anything because Brian hadn't been arrested. I had to come back, like the Amanda Show, where the dude was, where the abuse was happening, having the monster in your safe place. Still, where I felt most comfortable, where I was the happiest, was when I was on set with you guys. And the worst part was every day I got there, there was the monster was there, you know?
Even though Drake was forced to interact with his abuser daily, he did everything in his power to hide his pain and focus on his work. But Josh suspected something was wrong, as Drake seemed standoffish.
I was just looking at it through the prism of a 14-year-old's brain, going like, he doesn't want much to do with me. And
Josh essentially thought that Drake just stopped liking him, not knowing the horrors of Drake's abuse. At the same time, Drake also felt a little bit of tension from Josh, but was blaming himself.
Oh, I've got all this stuff that nobody knows about that's going on. Oh, is this gonna hurt our show? Is this gonna, when this drops, is Josh gonna look at me and be like, bro, you took our dream away. Like, you took my dream, like everything, like, are we gonna lose our show?
Drake even said he started losing his hair due to all the stress he was feeling. But then the investigation into Brian's crimes was coming to a close, and some of that pressure was starting to subside, knowing that justice would be served. Drake even decided to tell Dan Schneider about his abuser right before the trial.
And when Drake and I talked and he told me what had happened, I was more devastated by that than anything that ever happened to me in my career thus far. And I told
your dirty ass up.
Told him, I'm here for you. What do you need? Drake's mom, a lovely woman who I stay in contact with this day, she came to me at the time and she said, Dan, I'm not good with words like you are. And would you help me with my speech for the judge? And I said, of course.
Brian Peck was convicted of child molestation in 2004, pleading no contest to a charge of oral copulation with a minor under 16 and a charge of performing a lewd act with a 14 or 15-year-old. He spent only 16 months in prison and was mandated to register as a sex offender. Josh, again unaware of what was going on, one day realized that he stopped seeing Brian on set and with Drake, so he asked Drake what happened.
I had a feeling, because Brian, who was ever present during the Amanda show, and then he was gone, and I didn't know anything except I had a feeling something happened. And I remember we're in the car, it was you, me, and Jill, and I said, you still talk to Brian? And you just looked at me like, no, Brian's a really bad guy. And I remember thinking, gotcha. And it was all that I needed to know. And I didn't know anything more than that, but I was like, that's clear.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Although Drake's pain was not magically gone once Brian was arrested, he was able to find joy again in acting now that his abuser was not on set. However, Josh was also suffering from his own complicated life struggles. Now, by comparison, they seem menial to Drake's, but you have to consider that children feel like they are the center of their own universe, and they don't have that worldly perspective to make sense of their pain. Josh Peck was raised by a single mother, actually never even meeting his father. He was the result of a short fling his mother had with a coworker. Him and his mother went through drastic ups and downs, sometimes living a comfortable middle-class life and other times not knowing if they will be able to pay rent. To compound this struggle, he was using food as an escape, leading to him becoming very overweight.
I didn't know that I was sort of eating in an unhealthy way. I just felt like I eat fruit snacks like every other kid. I just, do it in an excessive way. So I think that pain was just born out of what we all feel, is that it hurts to be different, and it hurts to know that life is going to be challenging.
Josh also used stand-up comedy and his television roles to escape his internal battles.
Yeah.
Perhaps this is
glad he was on this show and not the mother
duo.
shows we've been
A
watching.
silver lining to these young boys experiencing
Dead
a traumatic
ass.
childhood was that when they came together,
Got a
they
little hot
felt
in this
safe and
bitch.
comfortable. And because of that, they created one of the greatest live-action shows in Nickelodeon history. Drake Parker and Josh Nichols were two brothers bound by their parents' marriage, forced to live in the same house, go to the same school, hang out with the same friends, while having totally opposite personalities. Josh was the hefty, emotional dork, while Drake was a smooth-talking ladies' man who led a rock band. It was common that the Nickelodeon writers made Josh the butt of the joke. I mean, it's very easy to pick on the overweight, goofy kid. Drake, on the other hand, would often be this glamorized bad boy.
I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
And self-centered. He would not stand up for his brother Josh. He would go hang out with girls and friends without him, and basically had a hard time accepting Josh as his brother.
Okay, here's my vision. I see your band in a desert. The sun beats down, little creature scampers by. Perhaps a lizard.
whoa. Here's my vision. I don't care about your vision. The video should show off my band.
And although the show produced some hilarious moments when the brothers were pitted against each other,
You made that whole story up. No, you started that fight. You calling me a liar? I ain't calling you a truther.
the best episodes
I
were
ain't calling
usually
you a
when they had to
truther.
work together to get themselves out of ridiculous situations.
You gotta get me out of this. I want to be cooler, but I can't go out there and play against the toughest team in the state. Okay. He's thinking. He's snapping. I got an idea. He's got an idea. Okay, you need to stop that. Done.
During season 3, Josh started to grow taller and lost a noticeable amount of weight, so the show's writers could not just resort to cheap fat jokes, but they still often made him a punching bag.
Why don't you just shave that thing off?
No. All right. Ever since I've grown this mustache, people treat me differently. I get more respect.
Hey, Josh. Helen wants you to go down to the basement and empty the rat traps.
You see? Helen never let me do that before.
Package for Josh Nichols.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Don't tell me what to do.
Although Drake
Don't tell me
warmed
what to
up
do.
Josh
I still do
eventually,
that
his
sometimes to
character
this day.
remains the
Have a
inconsiderate
good day.
troublemaker,
Don't tell me what to
and
do.
often the show reminded us how rude he actually was.
I have to take Helen home, right? And I need you to follow me so I can get a ride back. Kiss pretty girl, drive brother in traffic.
While we know that this is merely just actors leaning into their characters for the sake of comedy, and now we love them both for playing these roles so well, you have to remember that the target audience for this show were children, and it appeared to them that Drake was the main character and Josh was the sidekick, which is essentially proven by the fact that Drake won 10 Kids' Choice Awards and Josh only won once. It was clear that Drake was the fan favorite, and Josh kind of understood because he also idolized Drake since they first met. But at the same time, Josh was 50% of the show. Some would argue that Josh's one-liners and physical humor is what actually made the show so successful.
Whoa, what's this?
Just getting ready for my big dinner. Drake, what are you doing here? You're never home Saturday night.
I told you tonight's my big fight with Lucy.
No, you never said that. Never said that, okay? You never said you were gonna be home Saturday.
Well, I am. Ooh, olives.
Okay, paws off my olives.
In addition to this imbalance on screen,
Slime Time was that
Josh
shit.
was still
And
going through tough times
I think that
because
other
of his
game was
weight.
what was called
He
like
felt
Double
like he was
Dare or some
missing
shit
out
like
on a
that.
normal teenage life,
I remember
the
them
life
Jones.
that Drake was seemingly living.
I just knew that I felt like because I was so insecure, I had missed out on a lot of my teenage years. It wasn't without lack of opportunity to go out and be a knucklehead and experience life. I just didn't want to do it because I didn't love the body that I was in. So I felt like if I didn't act now, I was going to lose some really important years.
Josh got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and he spent his summers walking through New York City for miles while slowly making better food choices. His consistency led to him losing a total of 127 pounds in 3 years. This physical transformation had a profound effect on the Drake and Josh show. His new body seemed to make him more confident in pursuing physical comedy on screen.
Drake!
Pass the bull, you little
Just
bitch.
told me she loves me. What?
Tell me exactly how you responded when Mindy said, I love you.
I didn't know what to say, so I just said, seeing chemistry, and I slammed the door in her face.
And as a result, season 4 of the show produced some of the most hilarious and memorable moments.
You were supposed to cut it out with the power saw.
Dude, I'm gonna.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So go get the power saw.
Okay, I will.
Classic episode. Classic.
I see the problem.
Oh, do ya?
The Drake and Josh series premiere was watched by 3.2 million viewers, the network's highest
Oh
rated season
yeah, where you
premiere
had
in
to
nearly
pick the
10
nose, and then you had to do was
Episodes
one you had to go
regularly
like
saw
underneath a
viewership
pizza or
upwards
some
of
shit.
5,
Yeah,
6, 7
that one had
As
hella
of
little crazy
2006,
obstacles
the
and
show
shit.
ranked
I know exactly what
consistently
you're talking
among the
about.
10 most watched
That show is
cable
fire. I used to
shows
watch that all the
across
time.
television. It was a certified hit, creating core memories for kids all around the world. After the show, people just assumed these two remained great friends and rode off into the Hollywood sunset, becoming successful actors. But that wasn't exactly the case. Drake continued his dominance at Nickelodeon as a top star. Josh, on the other hand, wanted to develop a career outside of the kids' network, while simultaneously entering the darkest part of his life. One might assume that his amazing physical transformation had nothing but a positive impact on his life, but Josh says otherwise. It became clear that once I lost the weight, that I was the same head in a new body. I had this illusion of becoming more confident and attractive when I was partaking. I was trying to quiet that voice that woke me up every morning and told me I wasn't enough. In an attempt to live the teenage experience to the fullest while he still had a couple years to do it, he went overboard, falling victim to a dangerous drug and alcohol addiction.
And suddenly I'm like now looking like a normal kid and a normal teen. And I'm like, oh, they do drugs and that's normal. And they go to house parties and they go to clubs and they show up late to places and they're unreliable and that's normal. And I died to be normal. And I remember the first, when I finally said yes.
Legends of the Hidden Temple was that one with the nose want it.
No, Legends of the Hidden Temple is also a fire one. You know what we might do, bro? I want to watch some old game shows. We might have to do that, cause I love that one. That's the one with like the silver monkey and the red piranhas, where they had to do the little. It was basically essentially like an obstacle course, and then it was like a maze, and then you had to do that nigga name was that nigga name Motep or some shit like that, bro. Oh man, that shit was fire. But if you might have to do that, trying to catch Carmen San Diego. Why does that sound so familiar? Why does that? Appreciate the 5 bits too. Why does that sound so familiar? They climb in the mouth at the end of that one. Oh, y'all remember that game? What's it called? Guts, where they had to climb like a fucking mountain and shit, and it was like all crazy, and it looked like it was on Mars and some more shit, bro. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yes. I had no conception that this drug would make me feel any different, that it was extreme. All I thought was, I hope she's watching, and oh good, I'm normal.
While Josh was going through hard times, Drake was receiving very consistent work over the years, doing voice acting roles in shorts, TV shows, and movies. His most notable role was Peter Parker in Marvel's Ultimate Spider-Man animated series. When he wasn't doing voiceovers, he was writing and releasing his own music. Interestingly enough, his records weren't very popular in the United States, but were huge in various Spanish-speaking countries. The Drake and Josh Nickelodeon show was extremely popular in Latin countries, likely due to the excellent job the production team did with dubbing the actors' voices. Drake always wanted to be a rock star. Ever since his earliest days in the Amanda
where
Show
in the world is
2001,
Carmen San Diego?
For 17
I
years,
remember
but received
that.
no gold or platinum records in America. However, in Mexico and other various Spanish-speaking countries, Drake Bell, aka Drake Campana, had multiple high-charting Billboard singles and albums. In some of these countries, he performed shows for thousands of people. He learned to speak Spanish. He has written and released a ton of music in Spanish. He even provides Spanish subtitles with every podcast or social media post he makes. People have joked on social media that he ran away to Mexico to avoid charges of his 2020 crimes, when in reality he was more successful there for over a decade and probably made most of his income in Latin-speaking countries.
And what's it like in Mexico? Like, because you moved to Mexico, right? It seems amazing.
It's unbelievable, bro. You have no idea.
Tell me more, Drake Campana.
It's unbelievable. In Mexico, we were on Channel 5. We were like on After
wow.
Friends or Seinfeld. You know, it's like we're on normal TV. Everyone watched us. We weren't a kids show. There's a place called Veeps. It's like Denny's. The menu for the children's menu is us, bro.
What?
Like when you buy Doritos, you buy whatever, and you open them up, like the little like prizes inside is us.
Despite Josh's addiction and unreliability, he successfully broke the child star curse he was so desperate to escape from, and he did that with his role as Luke Shapiro in The Whackness. This coming-of-age dramedy set in 1994 in New York City follows a teenage drug dealer who trades weed for therapy sessions with his eccentric psychiatrist. Infused with 90s hip-hop culture, the film explores themes of adolescence, depression, love, and self-discovery. The Whackness premiered at the 2008 Sundance Film Festival, where it won the Audience Award for Dramatic Feature. Josh had finally achieved success outside of the goofy fat guy trope he thrived in his whole career, yet he realized it did not fill the empty void he was feeling in his life.
I had this realization, which was, oh no, you're bottomless. Like, you tried to fill this with food, then drugs and alcohol, and now like prestige, and none of it.
Nothing's gonna fill the void.
None of it. And I got sober 2 weeks later.
Luckily for Josh, he did not spiral deeper. He understood that he was trying to cure an internal problem with external solutions, and instead he chose the right path forward with therapy and sober living. He basically stayed busy every single year since then, securing a major film, TV, or voice acting role. He even took to social media, becoming one of the most popular creators on the 6-second video app Vine.
Hey, Josh, you just hit 4 million followers.
No way.
You calling me a liar?
I ain't calling you a truther.
Then again, neither Drake nor Josh's personal troubles made for viral headlines. Sure, TMZ did their standard coverage, and maybe die-hard fans were concerned about the two, but generally speaking, the mainstream fandom were now in high school and college and focusing on their own lives rather than their childhood celebrity favorites. Plus, Drake and Josh were frequently seen together over the years. Here is a photo that Josh posted to his Instagram in 2012 of them hanging out at a house party. Here is another photo of them in 2013 at a Christmas party. In 2014, there were multiple photos of them together. Josh even personally invited Drake to have a cameo in an episode of Grandfathered in 2015, which was a show about a socially awkward yet lovable new dad who unexpectedly reconnects with his suave, restaurant-owning father, played by John Stamos.
You remind me of my stepbrother.
Oh, but is he awesome?
No, he's in jail for stalking Oprah. Anyway, let's get inside so you guys can buy me dinner.
It's time for you to go, Kirk.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Go away. Have a nice night.
Don't tell me what to do.
What? Hug me, brother!
So it seemed like on the surface that Drake and Josh were friends. They were hanging out all the time and even collaborating. But it turns out that these meetups were actually extremely brief and infrequent. Quite literally just a quick little catch-up because they happened to be at the same party. Drake actually wanted to be closer to Josh at this time, but was unable to express that to him.
Like when we were hanging out at Michael's a lot, and we were just, and like there was, I always felt like, what, like, man, we're all hanging, like, we got the same, like, we should be closer. There's something, like, I'm like, oh, I'm not cool enough to, like, hang out with Josh. Like, oh, no, he's, you know, I'm not funny enough. I'm not this, no, he thinks I'm this, and, oh, like, we were doing the same shit when we really should have just been like, bro, want to go grab some pizza and like play some video games?
And the result of this friction between the two would get blown out of proportion, because in 2017, Drake posted 2 tweets about how he was not invited to Josh Peck's wedding, which sent the media into a frenzy, speculating that Drake and Josh had some sort of falling out. When you're not invited to the wedding, the message is clear. True colors have come out today. Message is loud and clear. Ties are officially cut. I'll miss you, brother. From there, Drake also did a few interviews where he discussed his feelings about not receiving the invite, but he still expressed nothing but grace for Josh.
Friend, you're talking to your friend and you're congratulating him on, oh, I'm so glad you're, you know, engaged, congratulate, blah, blah, blah. And then you see on social media that he had a wedding. And I go, what? I didn't hear about it, I didn't know about it. And so I shot from the hip and kind of was like, what? This is wrong. Like, why am I finding out about this on social media? I just feel like a bummed out brother, you know, just kind of hurt. But it had nothing, it does nothing to our relationship. I mean, we're brothers, we're friends. I mean, he's been one of my dearest friends for the past 18 years.
Josh was receiving a ton of hate for not inviting Drake to the wedding, and it really cast a dark cloud over this special night. The next time Josh saw Drake, which was at the VMAs in 2017, he asked Drake to apologize to his wife Paige for the tweets, and Drake happily did.
And I remember that I was at the Video Music Awards, and I see him there, and he sees me, and I go up to him, like, and this might be the most Sopranos thing I've ever done. And I look at him and I go apologize to my wife right now. And he goes, okay. And he like made a beeline for my wife, and I see him do like this whole 5-minute performance of an apology. And it was like, I was like, go apologize to my wife or something bad's gonna happen.
After Josh claims to have intimidated Drake, he ran up behind him and put a camera in Drake's face to vlog their reunion moment to show the public that they didn't have any real beef.
Holy come on. What's up, buddy? Is this happening right now live is this really right now live?
Stream live right now.
Oh my god.
Please
Wait,
tell
is this
Facebook
streaming?
to be nice to me.
Oh my god,
Please.
it's not even my fault.
Just tell Facebook to be nice to me.
Listen, lay off.
Thank you. You heard that? Facebook, it's all good.
Chill out.
We love
Lay
you.
off, man. Alright,
I got $100 for you.
Drake and his ex-wife Janet said that this moment was actually sincere. The couples exchanged numbers and went out to dinner multiple times afterwards, seemingly rekindling their friendship. They even did some content together as Josh was pursuing YouTube very seriously.
It's Drake.
That's Josh.
And it's all love, people.
Back together again.
We're all good.
That's amazing.
So,
What do you look like? It sucked anyway.
oh, you.
Me? You know what? Mom never even liked you.
She's not our mom. We're not on a TV show.
We now know exactly why Drake was not invited to the wedding. On their most recent podcast, Josh revealed that Drake wasn't singled out. It's just that nobody from the Drake and Josh cast was invited. The only person from Nickelodeon that was invited to Josh's wedding was Dan Schneider, because his wife was friends with Josh's mom.
I love you. I love Miranda. There's so many people that I probably would now at 38 wanted there. But at 30, I just wanted to leave it all behind.
Yep.
Because it felt like it didn't serve me anymore.
Yeah.
And the realization I had was when, you know, you wrote that stuff during my wedding about like our friendship and all these things and our love and our history. I think you were living in the world of what our relationship should have been.
Right.
I was too much living in the past of when our relationship wasn't great.
Yeah.
And it was really somewhere in the middle.
At the time, Josh felt that he and Drake grew apart, but it was really that Josh wanted to leave everything related to Nickelodeon in the past, including a close friendship with Drake. This stung extra hard for Drake because he actually wanted to be closer to Josh, but because neither of them actually communicated how they felt on the inside, it resulted in this huge wedding blowout. It's also important to realize that this conversation that they had on this podcast in 2025 never was communicated before. So despite Drake and Josh publicly making up in 2017 and making all this content together, they never really addressed the problem. And then something weird started to happen. As Drake continued to do press for different projects, he still seemed bothered by the wedding drama. He seems awfully sarcastic and throwing shade towards Josh in interviews.
I don't know. Josh is busy doing stuff.
I'm sensing some shade.
No shade at all. I love the kid. We're just super. The thing is we're just so busy. Like, you know, I'm constantly on tour. He's constantly at David Dobrik's house. And, you know, there's like not a lot of time to really.
Did he ever tell you why he didn't invite you? Did you ever get a reason?
He doesn't like me.
Stop. Is that really what it is?
Yeah, and the extra chicken would have been really expensive. It was like another $7.95 or something like that.
This interview got 6 million views, and all the comments were all taking Drake's side. Remember when Drake was the cocky one and Josh was the sweet and calm one in the show? But now it's the opposite. It seems as Josh sees him as just a co-worker and Drake saw him as a friend. That's awkward. But then a few months later,
Yeah, that's
they do more
awkward.
YouTube content together and everything seems totally normal and fine. And by the way, all of these videos have now been deleted from Josh's YouTube channel. And if you're having a hard time following this timeline and it seems very flip-floppy, one minute they're friends, the next they're
it
not,
does.
you can't really get a grip on it, well, you're not alone. It was these mixed signals that made for a lot of confusion.
Whatever the public's perception is of our relationship is or isn't, or like what we should be doing to them, all I ever want to say to them is like, whatever you think you know of us is only half as deep as it really is.
Nobody could really tell if they were friends or just trying to remain relevant by milking the drama, or if they secretly were still mad at each other. But then behind the scenes, it got even more confusing when Josh pitched Drake an idea for a reboot
I
of
kind of
their
wanted to
classic
taste it too, I'm
Nickelodeon
not
show,
gonna lie.
but the plot was seemingly set up to make Drake
Actually,
look...
since you brought that up, there was a time where I think I was at was it Toys R Us? It may have been Toys R Us or KB Toys, one of the old school toys places in the 90s. It was like in the early 2000s. My mom took me there and they had some like slime in a jar. So I was like, yo, I want this. So I took it and I did the same thing to Flubber, but my sister had a Flubber toy. She had a Flubber toy, and I ended up cutting the Flubber toy open, because I wanted to see what that shit kind of tasted like. I'm not gonna lie, and it was disgusting. It was very spicy and chemically, and I did the same shit with the slime. I just tasted it, and it was very salty and chemical. It tasted like what it tasted like what a Sharpie smells like. Yeah, that shit was not delicious.
And a glowing piece of our
Yeah, let me get some of that aggro crag. Yeah, look at that shit, bro. That shit go hard.
blast your name into the
Let me piece of that aggro crag.
Hold it up and show America that.
Hold on.
Let's hear it for us.
I remember it looking more shiny though. That's a crack rock. Alright, and to answer you, Dan, I'm comping Rivals. Oh, okay, say less, say less. I might fuck around with some Rivals too, my G. On me. I remember the aggro. Yeah, I remember it well. Yes, he ain't had a good. They did him dirty. They didn't give him the good shit.
Bad.
I've seen
In
better
2019,
aggro
Josh
crack.
sent over the script to Drake.
And I'm gonna keep
The
this in the
idea was
recording
that
too.
Drake
I'm
was
like, bro,
going to
what
be
the
a
fuck?
failed
Did this nigga
musician,
just stop
and Josh
to
was going
watch
to be a
Guts?
successful real estate agent. They were
Yes, I
basically
did.
parodying Drake's real life as a musician in Mexico,
I
while
wanted to
Josh's
see some aggro
character
crack.
was entirely fictional. The opening line of the first scene was supposed to be one of Josh's clients recognizing him from Nickelodeon and saying their classic "Hug me, brother" catchphrase, only for Josh to deny it and say, "Hug yourself, kid."
And then he goes, "Hug me, brother." And then Josh gets in the car and goes,
Hug yourself, F-head. And that
So
alone.
that was the first
just-
thing
well,
that I was like, we can't open
that
our
alone was
show
my
like that.
First red flag, because you just said "F you" to the entire
Our
Drake
audience.
and Josh fan base.
Yeah.
Then it transitions to Drake in Mexico
Yeah.
performing at a quinceañera for the daughter of a drug cartel leader, where they are all drinking and doing hard drugs. Drake is also performing with a mariachi band. During the performance, the cartel members get loaded, and a massive gunfight breaks out, and they end up not wanting to pay Drake for his service, which ultimately leads to him being broke and stuck in Mexico.
Josh has Drake stuck in Mexico, has him tweet, "I need money," or "I need to do a meet and greet for money," and only has like 3 people show up to the mall for the meet and greet so that Drake could get money back to the United States.
I'm not sure how real this is, but it sounds like some sort of Josh revenge fantasy for playing the goofy fat kid all those years. I don't think people realize that Drake worked hard to build up a Hispanic fan base. Making a reboot full of stereotypes, many hurtful, about this audience he built would cause Drake to piss off many long-term fans. Whether or not this script was real was never confirmed, but it did seem possible considering what unfolded next. Drake was about to face some major legal troubles for allegedly sexually pursuing underage girls, and Josh responded with a full-on press tour trying to convince the world that he and Drake hadn't talked in 10 years and were never friends. And that happened roughly around the time Drake was outed by his abuser for allegedly sexually pursuing underage girls. In August of 2020, Drake's former girlfriend, Melissa Lingafelt, who goes by the stage name Jimmy Ono on social media, posted a TikTok that jeopardized Belle's clean reputation. Melissa claimed that Drake committed both verbal and physical abuse during their relationship from August 2006 to February 2009.
When I started dating Drake, I was 16. I was homeschooled. I moved in with him. I was singing. It wasn't until about a year when the verbal abuse started. And when I say verbal abuse, imagine the worst type of verbal abuse you could ever imagine, and that was what I got. It then turned into physical, hitting, throwing, everything. At the pinnacle of it, he dragged me down the stairs of our house in Los Feliz. My face hit every step on the way down. I have photos of this. I don't even want to get into the underage girls thing. I mean, I will, but I'm scared.
As if the allegations of physical abuse weren't shocking enough, Melissa hinting that he was somehow involved with underage girls set the internet on fire. Drake vehemently denied ever abusing Melissa. As our relationship ended more than a decade ago, we unfortunately both called each other terrible names, as often happens when couples are breaking up, but that is it. Clearly, Melissa still felt close enough to me just last year that she was comfortable reaching out to ask me to provide her with financial support during a tough time, which I did. The public opinion on the situation was split. While many people reacted with empathy and support towards Melissa, recognizing the seriousness of domestic abuse, others were skeptical and expressed doubt about her claims, especially since Melissa failed to provide any concrete evidence against Drake. Plus, Drake made it seem like she was doing this expose for money, casting doubt on her intentions. It was purely a he said, she said situation, and Drake wouldn't face any legal consequences. Melissa, after spending weeks talking about the situation online, deleted all her videos and detached herself from the situation, but it only took a few months for more serious allegations to come to light and Drake's reputation to be permanently destroyed. On June 4th, 2021, Bell was arrested in Cleveland, Ohio on charges relating to attempted endangering of children and disseminating matter harmful to juveniles. For context, child endangerment occurs whenever a parent, guardian, or other adult caregiver allows a child to be placed or remain in a dangerous, unhealthy, or inappropriate situation. Disseminating matter harmful to juveniles means that a person has unlawfully ordered, offered, sold, displayed, or given pornographic or obscene material such as books, videos, messages, photos, etc. to someone under the age of 18. To simplify, he was being charged with sexting a minor. However, the nature of the charges say that there was no sexual contact. According to the court documents, the date of the offense was December 1st, 2017. Bell was going to Cleveland, Ohio's The Odeon to perform a concert. Bell then seemingly invited the minor to his show in Cleveland. In the months leading up to the concert, Drake sent the victim inappropriate social media messages. The minor, who lived in Canada, attended Bell's concert in Cleveland. She and Bell met later that night at the Cleveland nightclub on Old River Road in the city's East Bank of the Flats district. In October
River
2018,
Road
10
sounds a
months
little.
after the incident, the 15-year-old victim filed a report with her local police department in Canada.
Sounds a little,
regarding what
you
happened
know.
that night. This is all the information that was revealed in the case. So naturally, people
I'm
were
gonna meet
confused
you
as this
down
was all
on Old
extremely
River
vague.
Road, you
Even
know.
news outlets were unable to discern what actually happened.
Disseminating matter harmful to children. We don't have information on exactly what that is, but you can imagine.
You don't look like you have no bitches. You ain't popping.
34-year-old girl and a
Cheer
34
10 shorty say what it do is what I make her do.
Draw your own.
Get her on the first shot, yeah, one take, boo. Now she need the black mamba battle than the Lakers do. I DDT the pussy, I'm Jake the Snake to you. I put him in the coffin, I'm the Undertaker too. She met the god, now her man gonna meet his maker too. Cheddar Bob DSG just gave this broke nigga in need 10 of spare change, a few more he can afford rent. Yeah.
Yeah. W bars again, Cheddar Bob. What's the word? How you feeling, bro? I don't know who that is from also.
Then his ex Melissa, who accused him of
don't know
abuse
who
on
that's from,
TikTok
too.
1
But
year
what's good, bro?
prior, did an
W
exclusive
bars as
interview with
always.
the Daily Beast where she claimed that she observed Bell's inappropriate behavior with minors firsthand. What he's being arrested for right now is a prime example of what I would witness. Him having inappropriate conversations online with underage girls. Melissa said, I saw really questionable, crazy stuff on his computer. The stuff he'd be looking at was effing insane. These statements, combined with the extremely vague court case details, fueled the narrative that Drake Drake was a pedophile. Now, it's important to consider that as soon as the victim reported Drake in October of 2018, Canadian authorities and Cleveland authorities promptly started an investigation. This investigation lasted 18 months, gathering all the evidence, photos, screenshots, and multiple statements from the victim to build a case against Bell. They even gained access to Drake's Instagram, Snapchat, laptops, everything they could. We don't technically know what they found, but whatever it was enough to cause Drake to enter a plea deal instead of going to trial. And on June 23rd, 2021, he pled guilty to attempted child endangerment. So remember, all the details regarding
I don't even own that.
And then on top of that,
I didn't buy that.
Guilty. So now the general public is
I got
extra
100
convinced he is a PDF file.
on position 2 quiz, 95 on my comp. Let's fucking go.
The abuse persisted until Drake began spending more time at his girlfriend's house.
Yeah, W mans.
And all the comments were for a lot of confusion.
Whatever the
Not wanting to pay Drake for his service for allegedly sexually pursuing underage girls. And Josh responded with a full-on press tour trying to convince
many times. After I met him,
which shocked started an investigation. This investigation lasted 18 months, gathering all the evidence, photos, screenshots, and multiple statements from the victim to build a case against Bell. They even gained access to Drake's Instagram, Snapchat, laptops, everything they could. We don't technically know what they found, but whatever it was enough to cause Drake to enter a plea deal instead of going to trial. And on June 23rd, 2021, he pled guilty to attempted child endangerment. So remember, all the details regarding his case were extremely vague, and then on top of that, he pleads guilty. So now the general public is extra convinced he is a PDF file, but somehow it got even worse. Drake's sentencing was conducted over Zoom and then posted on YouTube. During this sentencing, the victim made an impact statement, which is essentially their opportunity to talk directly to the defendant and the judge to express their thoughts and emotions about the crime. This was the very first time anyone had heard the details of the alleged crimes that took place, but during the impact statement, the victim brought up countless new allegations and statements that were never presented during the investigation, which shocked Drake, the defense, and even the judge. Remember, Drake was already pleading guilty to basically sexting, but since he was pleading guilty, the public assumed that everything the victim was saying here was part of the case, but it was not.
I started off as a fan of him. Everyone who knew me as a child knew that he was a hero to me. I would have done anything for him. When I was 11, I learned that my aunt had a mutual friend who knew the defendant. That led to my aunt taking me to meet him for the first time in 2014 when I was 12. From the time I was 12 to 15, my aunt took me to meet him and spend time with him many times. After I met him for the first time, he started speaking to me more frequently online. When I was 13, I went to him for boy advice. He told me that I was beautiful and that boys were stupid. He then sent me a photo of myself that he had screen capped from my Instagram, telling me that I was, quote, such a cutie. He saved that photo of me onto his phone. Another instance of creepy behavior happened when I was spending time with him at the age of 14. He told me that he couldn't believe how much I'd grown since he last saw me. He said that I wasn't little anymore, and I was, quote, a woman now. But at 15, he started sending me messages about how, quote, hot I was. In the summer of 2017, I messaged him, telling him that I was going to see him in concert in the following months. He replied by telling me that he couldn't wait to see me. He also asked me, quote, how old are you now? I told him 15. He then told me to, quote, hurry up. Not too long after that, his messages to me became blatantly sexual. Aside from Cleveland, the only other time that the defendant sexually assaulted me was in October of 2017. It happened in Illinois in the middle of the night. He digitally penetrated me in the back seat of my aunt's car while she was driving him to a friend's house. This eventually led to many months of inappropriate messages and photos being exchanged over Instagram and Snapchat. The photos exchanged included photos of my body and photos of his body and his genitals. He would tell me how badly he wanted to penetrate me vaginally. On December 1st, 2017, my aunt took me to the Odeon Concert Club to watch him perform. That night, the defendant took me backstage to be alone with him. He started kissing me, and the night ended in him having me perform oral sex on him twice. The next incident happened on December 2nd, 2017. While I was alone with him in his hotel room, he had talked to me about seeing me one last time before we all left Cleveland and went home. So we went to his hotel to say goodbye.
Why does it look like she doesn't have teeth? I was just noticing, I was just trying to like pay attention and lock into everything. I kept looking up and like,
his hotel room.
Does she not have teeth?
and had me perform oral sex on him again. My aunt was right outside the room waiting in the hallway while this was happening. She trusted him and never thought that he would—
Am I tripping, or do you just see gums too? Like, what the fuck? Maybe her teeth just little as hell.
ever do anything to hurt me. The sexual messages continued for a while after that, until I eventually put a stop to them. He ignored me for many days at first. Eventually, he tried apologizing to me for, quote, breaking my heart, but deleted those messages quickly afterward. He preyed on me and sexually abused me. He is a monster and a danger to children. Jared Drake Bell is a pedophile, and that is his legacy.
People picked apart Drake's body language and pointed out that he was laughing, smirking, and shocked. But nobody mentioned that a lot of what the victim was saying here were new allegations that nobody in the court ever heard before. Specifically, the allegations that he forced the girl to give him oral and the allegation that he sent nude photos. The defense and the court both confirmed with evidence that no such sexual advances were made. Otherwise, the charges would have been more severe.
He did not plead to sexual misconduct or engage
Toby, be good nigga for massa. Good nigga.
Attempted endangering children and disseminating matter harmful to juveniles.
What's wrong with this nigga's voice?
But they do not involve sexual relations.
This nigga's
Drake's
dying.
defense admits to.
So the acceptance of the
What's good, black ass Trev?
is for
This nigga sound like he's dying.
between he and the victim. The subject matter of those chats were discussion because they had known each other for years, and there were claims that became sexual in nature. When asked, however, at what point, or at your age, excuse me, at that point he said, "Can you hurry up?" which shows a complete intent not to engage with a minor. So, however, those chats, harmful as they were, clearly harmed this person at that time.
They were sexual in nature.
Those were, yes. Thank you. They certainly, however, Your Honor, did not mimic any of the factual scenarios that the victim has brought up here today. And again, I have to emphasize the fact that once the age was known, that terminated at that point, saying hurry up with the age. But I will say that—
Fuck this voice up from them cigarettes on God. She got them iPhone chargers. Bro.
Basically,
Like,
Drake
what the
admits
fuck?
to conversing with a minor for years, even
Bruh
though he
needs some
says he
tea.
didn't know her age.
Nigga
Those
dying.
conversations eventually turned sexual. Then when he
They were
asked for
doing
her
something
age,
like
she
he's
told him
suffering from
15, and he
emphysema
said hurry up,
30
and
years.
stopped all communication. When Drake stopped conversing with her, they claimed that flipped the young girl's world upside down,
Yeah,
and she
this is
started
dope.
going after Drake's wife and threatening to expose him. They basically paint her as a crazy, obsessed, and jealous fan, which we don't really know if that's true or not. We can't say the victim is lying, and we don't know what evidence was found during the investigation because almost none of it was revealed to the public. But we do know she was bringing up new allegations in her impact statement that she did not formally bring up during the 18-month investigation. Therefore, they cannot be legally considered during sentencing. It's up for you to decide if she was just an obsessed fan that was jealous and trying to ruin his reputation, or if she is actually a victim of a corrupt legal system. Bell was sentenced to 2 years
Con Diddy.
200 hours of community service in California.
He got something
and
in
did
his
not have any
throat.
contact with the victim. He was not
Hopefully it
required
ain't
to
cousin
register as a
related.
sex offender. At
No
the time,
Con
the
Diddy.
public looked at Drake as a pedophile who got off with a slap on the wrist. Shortly after this trial, Josh Peck went on various podcasts.
Nah, I've been
claiming
sipping
that he
on
and
Topo
Drake
Chico
barely spoke and were never
with some
friends,
watermelon
and
crush.
that's why he wasn't invited to the wedding.
Are you guys like not friends?
Not really, no. The dirty little secret, I guess, was like, I knew that Drake and I didn't stay in touch for the 10 years since we had made the show, but no one needed to know that. And it's delusional because I'm like, bro, it's like we worked at Coffee Bean when we were 16. Like, I'm sorry, I'm 31 now, I might have lost your number. I was happy to just die with that secret that, like, we made this thing. that
Sorry,
people
bro, I
loved,
may have
but maybe
lost
we
your
weren't that
number.
close. So I didn't invite
I have
him to my
other
wedding 'cause
shit
I hadn't
going on.
really talked to him in many, many years. Like, Drake and Josh is something I'll be synonymous with forever, and I'm proud of it. And I want to like the guy that my name is attached to forever. But unfortunately, you know, it just sort of worked out the way that it did.
It's pretty safe to say that there is enough evidence in this video to prove that this is a bold-faced lie. They were definitely friends. In fact, they often referred to each other as brothers. They even saw each other once per year, which is actually pretty frequently. A lot of adults don't even get to see their close childhood friends once a year. Now, we do know that they weren't extremely close. They weren't attached at the hip or constantly involved in each other's lives, but Josh is basically saying that Drake was nothing more than a coworker, he barely spoke to him, and he actually didn't even like him. Which means one of two things. Either this is actually how Josh felt deep down, and now he just has the perfect excuse to say it, or he's lying to the public to distance himself from Drake because of his legal troubles. And it was from there that Drake's life began to spiral out of control. On December 7th, 2022, eyewitnesses caught Drake in the driver's seat of his car inhaling a substance out of balloons while his toddler son and wife were in the
remember
backseat.
that.
The very next day, another eyewitness reported
I
capturing him outside of a
remember
vape shop
that.
inhaling a blue balloon with his child in the back seat. At the time, Bell was still on probation
That
for
Kanye
attempted
shit
child
was
endangerment
wild.
and was
Motherfuckers
seemingly
calling him a gay
engaging
fish.
in a
Nah, he really is a gay
recreational
fish.
substance known as whippets, where people inhale nitrous
He really
oxide
is a
from
gay
balloons,
fish.
causing them to experience euphoria, hallucinogenic states, and relaxation. This drug is also extremely addictive and dangerous. The weird behavior
It
continued
all
on
comes
April
full
13th,
circle now.
2023, when the Daytona Beach Police Department listed Drake
They
Bell
was
as
onto
missing
something.
and
South
said
Park
he had
already
been
knew.
last seen before 9 p.m. on April 12th in the area of Mainland High School.
and
The
a
department's
gay
post
fish.
noted what car Drake was likely
You
driving,
just a gay nigga
2022
now.
gray BMW, and said he could be considered missing and endangered. TMZ obtained a 911 call where someone from Orlando PD explained why police were deeply concerned for Bell's well-being.
Basically, there is a celebrity who had a falling out with his wife. We got involved because the family, he's been texting the family in California saying that he's going to get drunk and hang himself. And he's in a hotel somewhere in Orlando.
Drake tweeted shortly after he was seemingly located, "You leave your phone in the car and don't answer for a night, and this?" While Drake seemed fine given the circumstances, the following week his wife filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences.
That's why
Per
I
the
call him
petition, Janet asked for
Diddy
legal
for
and
all the
physical
freaky shit
custody
he
of
do.
their son Jeremy, with Bell getting visitation rights. She also
Con
sought
Diddy,
spousal
Diddy
support.
con
Bell later
Diddy.
revealed that he found out my wife filed for divorce from TMZ before promoting his new song, Going Away. In the song, Drake ironically sings about moving away to a remote island with his wife and son and starting a new life. Presumably unable to cope with the stress of losing his wife and child, eyewitnesses caught Drake using whippets once again on April 25th as he inhaled from a fully inflated balloon, merely days after the media publicized his divorce. When paparazzi asked him about it, this was his response.
There's some photos that surfaced of you with red balloons. What do you think? What do you got to say about that? Those balloons?
You know, it is what it is. We'll figure it out.
Everything's good?
Yeah, everything's fantastic, man.
Drake Bell was at the lowest point of his life. Drugs had taken
Everything's
over and he had
fantastic,
nowhere
man.
left
Fuck
to
off.
turn
I ain't
but
got nothing to
rehab.
explain.
However, rehab changed his life more than he anticipated as he began to open up about his childhood abuse.
But when I got into rehab, it was a really...
Because I thought that balloon was a stomach. You thought that nigga just got extra fat out of nowhere?
Trauma therapy and group therapy and one-on-one. I mean, it was all day.
I would have said, yeah, nigga, I just got fat as shit out of nowhere, bro. You know what I'm
Unearthing
saying? You know how I be.
things that I never talked about.
I've been eating
not
good.
only never talked about with strangers, but even with people I was close to, had never
I've been
gone
eating.
deep about things that I've experienced and things that have happened. And I was around so many people who, for the first time, had similar stories or incredible trauma in their lives and were opening up and sharing.
You
and
felt like you had
that was the
friends.
first time that I really felt like I was in an environment that was comfortable enough to share and felt comfortable enough around people that weren't going to judge. And I really just wanted to see you get better.
During this time, a documentary was being worked on called Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, which aimed to expose the toxic and abusive environment behind the scenes of Nickelodeon in the late 1990s and 2000s, particularly under producer Dan Schneider. The doc features former child stars and crew members sharing accounts of alleged mistreatment, exploitation, and inappropriate behavior that went unchecked for years. After rehab, Bell felt like he had a
Like, don't mind
revitalized
that.
outlook on his
Just tell me
past
ahead.
and ultimately decided to tell his traumatic Nickelodeon childhood story to the world via this documentary.
Before the rehab, I had said no to the documentary over and over and over and over and over. I was not going to be a part of it. I didn't want any part of it. But after rehab, when I came out, I was like, let me see what your angle is here. Let me see. I'll talk to you guys. I'll start entertaining this idea because I felt really good. And I felt maybe sharing my story will help me and maybe help others. And
After hearing about Drake's abuse, the public did a 180 shift on him. His comment sections went from calling him a profile to sharing love, condolences, and positivity. People all of a sudden were empathetic. Some even used his past as an excuse for him allegedly engaging in inappropriate behavior with minors. They said things like Bell was a part of the cycle of abuse and couldn't control what was happening to him. It's true that childhood abuse can have profound psychological effects on survivors, including trauma, depression, and PTSD. Children who grow up suffering abuse may learn abusive behavior as a means of coping or as a model for how relationships function. Approximately 1/3 of all individuals who are abused in
I mean, maybe it's just me. It's just, but like, I feel like if I had something traumatic happen to me, like I had one of my, well, I haven't had anything physically traumatic happen to me, but let's just say something bad happens, like I lose a loved one or something. I'm not gonna go out trying to like take other people's, like I lost my brother. I'm not gonna go out trying to kill other people's brothers, you know? Yeah, you never got your ass beat. That's different. Yeah, I've got my ass whooped, but that's different. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can always just come back and fight again. Or, you know what I'm saying? If I know I can't whoop that nigga, then all right. I gotta respect it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it was never like, oh. That's what I'm saying. I never been abused. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm like, I guess I can't fathom something traumatic and terrible happening to me, and I have to pass that on to others. Or I know, yeah, like you said, it is something in the brain, it's psychological, I get it or whatever, but I just don't see how that can work. If you know something is horrible, something horrible happening to you that you don't like, you're gonna do the same thing that was done to you to others? Like, I just can't fathom that. That just doesn't make sense to me for the longest. Even when when we was going down the Dan Schneider rabbit hole or whatever, I'm like that. And when people were saying they're victims of the people that were the abusers or victims of abuse themselves, like they got diddied when they was kids, so now they do the diddying. You would think, you know how Batman lost his parents? He's not a serial killer. He doesn't go around killing people's parents. He does things for the greater good. So you would think these niggas getting diddied, they would be like advocates for non-diddying. They would like be doing things to make sure these niggas don't exist and organizations like this don't exist no more. Not continuing, oh, well, let's just pay it forward. I got diddied, I'm going to diddy you. Like, huh? I don't get that. I deadass don't get that. Motherfuckers are monsters for real. It's weird, but the motherfuckers want revenge. They want revenge, so they gonna do this. That's how they get revenge, though? They seek revenge by doing the same thing that happened to them? That's not revenge. That's criminal. That's not vengeance. That's just freaky. That's just some freaky ass shit. He lost them from bats. That's why he's Batman. Shut up, nigga. But bro, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's not revenge. That's just criminal, bro. I can see, like, all right, revenge is okay. You can even go this far. Say, like, all right, say I get. We're not even about to use that explanation. Say something bad happened to your parents, and you grow up. You try to go slide. Now you have two options. You can just be a crash out, or you could just be like Batman and just like try to fight crime and make sure shit never happens like that. Or you could even be selfish. You could try to track down the people that actually did it or whatever. And you could just take out that whole bloodline if you wanted to. It's a psychological thing. It's crazy how abuse like that can rewrite a person's brain. I know I sound sped when I read that. My bad. It's sometimes because when it happened to them, they felt alone and it didn't get the help they needed. It's not good, but but that's the case a lot of times. I didn't realize the kid who played Andre in Hardball was in one of the episodes of Quiet on the Set. Shit is crazy that these motherfuckers got away with it for so long. Someone trying to diddy me and I'm taking a charge. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, or three, yeah. Or all three. Yes, or all three. But like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, bro, I can't. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Having psychological damage done to you over the course of multiple years, I guess it will rewrite someone's brain and change your perception on life. I just can't fathom that because my brain has yet to be. Well, I mean, I done fucked up my brain in multiple ways, but never to the point where I felt like, all right, I'm about to go on that other side. You know what I'm saying? But well, I never had psychological.
Good nigga for master. Good nigga.
I never had that type of like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I never had that type of trauma. I've just like had like brain damage, but I never had trauma. Like, you know what I'm saying? A traumatic event that made my brain fuck up type shit. So I guess I'm just like, shit, nigga, what? Wait, why y'all so close? Yeah, like what, nigga? That's wild, bro.
Childhood will become abusers
Wild.
themselves, according to a study funded by the National Institute of Justice. A survivor of childhood sexual abuse may try to undo that abuse by
It's
taking
just like me.
back
I almost
power.
went down
Someone
the
who has
wrong
been
route
abused can play the role
because
of the
of
more
what
powerful
happened to me. I chose to go for the ones who wronged me instead caused it to I chose to go for the ones who wronged me instead caused it's too weird and wild to attack people who never wronged me. Exactly. Like, why would I go beat the fuck up out of a random Joe who's literally just doing what I would do? You know what I'm saying? Say I'm a random Joe. So say I go outside just to go do something. I go outside just to go get some jalapenos to put on my pizza. And then someone come beat the dog shit out of me, all because of like why? Like why? He don't even know that person. Someone just comes and beat the dog shit out of me just because of something that happened to them when they was a kid. I had nothing to do with any of that. Nigga, I was getting jalapenos for my pizza. Huh? Just because I was in eyesight? That's not... Huh? How the fuck does that work?
person in the relationship in an attempt to overcome the powerlessness they felt. One day after the Quiet on Set documentary released, Drake released a song and music video
That's
called
clear
I
with,
Kind of Relate. The song starts off with the lyrics, I found
that's
beauty in
how
my
you read
pain. I'm
my
running
chest.
away from the abuse and all the shame, because no
Shut
one
up.
comes to my house anymore.
Oh,
No one knocks on
we
my
all
door.
down the
These
rabbit
lyrics
hole.
are complemented with a visual of
Now
him as
we
a
all
child
down the rabbit
entering his
hole.
on-set trailer
Exactly.
with a
I would
grown man who likely
throw some
represents
acid on
Brian
someone
Peck,
who
his
done me
abuser.
wrong real
Then the
quick in
track quickly
GTA.
transitions to
That nigga
his
said
infamous
acid.
2006 car crash, where 19-year-old Drake Bell was stopped at a red light and a driver fell asleep at the wheel going 60 miles per hour, then crashed into his 1966 Mustang head-on. Bell broke his jaw in 3 places, fractured his neck, and lost a bunch of teeth. The song continues, I lost my path so long ago. In 2008, I found love in Mexico, because no one wants to hear me in the States, so I'm running away. However, Bell releasing this music video after the documentary made some people think he was being disingenuous, that he was essentially capitalizing off the publicity to sell a record. Others pointed out that he has been writing about the abuse in his music for years, like in his 2006 song In the End, where he wrote, the monsters in your head have left you all to yourself. It's alright if ugly little things remind you of how it felt. Another day no one tells you what it means, what's in your way and poisoning your dreams, the darkest place that you've ever been. Or in his 2020 track, What Is Wrong? Well, I wish I was a kid again, I would laugh and play, like we did back then. Would I be afraid of all the monsters who just left me here in these abandoned rooms? We all know that artists write music based on their real life experiences, and this is Drake Bell's story to tell. Did he pre-plan this song and video to drop at the same time this documentary came out for strategic business purposes? He absolutely did. But it's pretty safe to assume that Drake would 100 out of 100 times choose to not have experienced this horrific trauma. He would have rather had a normal childhood.
I'm pretty
And
sure
if
he
the
would
tiny
much rather
benefit
have
is
a
that he can
normal
make a song
childhood.
about his pain, then so be it. You could also argue that all the people who didn't want to hear his story until he came out about his own abuse are more disingenuous. Plus, the people that made the documentary are profiting off his story. Every YouTuber and TikToker and Twitch streamer talking about it are making money from it. That does not diminish or devalue the seriousness of his experience. From there, enraged fans began attacking his co-star Josh Peck, bombarding his comment section with hate, calling him an accomplice, and placing blame on him for Drake's abuse. They just somehow believed that Josh was complicit or aware of Drake's situation. Josh did make a statement on Instagram that he reached out to Drake privately and showed his support for the survivors that spoke out. Drake even asked supporters to take it easy on Josh.
But he has reached out to talk with me and help me work through this, and has been really, really great. So I just wanted to let you guys know that and to take it a little easy on him.
Drake asking people to give Josh grace is especially profound considering Josh threw him under the bus when Drake's allegations came to light. Then 1 year later, in March of 2025, Josh invited Drake onto his podcast to have a 2-hour-long discussion about most of the things we covered in this video. This pod connected some of the missing pieces the public had been wondering about their roller coaster of a relationship over the years. And even though this podcast had deep introspective moments, great laughs, and some reconciliation, some fans still believe there is a resistance from Josh. At the very end of this podcast, Josh's co-host Ben says, "I love you, Drake," and Josh laughs at that and even repeats, "I love you, Drake," in a mocking, unserious tone, only for Drake to respond with a genuine, "I love you, Josh."
Love you, Ben.
Dude. Love you.
I love you, Ben.
Great. I love you, Drake.
I love you, Drake.
I love you, Josh.
Whenever Drake talks about feeling hesitant or insecure to reach out to Josh in the past, Josh doesn't try to make him feel better or be like, "You can text me anytime, man." He just smiles and nods. It's odd. Drake cares way more for Josh than Josh does for him. It's sad and hard to watch. I'm sorry, but I think Josh is using him to his advantage. He did the same thing a few years ago when it benefited him in his YouTube career and then dropped him again. So fake. Josh has disrespected Drake several times and he comes off as a hater. Now he wants to stand with Drake because of what Drake disclosed happened to him. Such a shame. Josh seems like a fake friend who wants Drake for views. Then again, two things can be true at once. Maybe Josh does see Drake's crimes as reprehensible and unforgivable, but at the same time, he can still feel empathetic for a friend who went through an extremely traumatic and complicated childhood. Even if Josh does still feel resentment towards Drake, whether that be for their complicated childhood or how Drake handled the wedding or Drake's criminal history, it doesn't change this absolute fact. These two are just not the two loving brothers that the fandom so desperately wants them to be. Drake and Josh's relationship is actually very realistic to the real world. It's just complicated. I'm sure you have a friend or brother or cousin or distant family member that you love deep down, but you also don't agree with their life choices. And maybe they piss you off sometimes, but also you understand what they are going through and you truly wish the best for them. You also kind of miss them, and when you see them, you bond and have great times and good laughs. But then time goes by and you start to feel those same resentments, or maybe they mess up again and you think, all right, I'm done with them forever, even though you know you're not. You never actually tell them how you really feel because it's awkward, or you don't think you should have to speak to them, they should just know. Or you're not about to tell another adult how to live their life. Or you are holding on to that love that you have for them deep down. And the only true way to get out of this limbo is to talk with them. But there is a possibility that even if you do talk, you could have a permanent falling out that could lead to you never speaking with that person again. And you might regret that until the day that you or they die. So what ends up happening most of the time is you never truly address those problems, even though both of you know they exist, and this cycle of love, hate, tension, animosity, remorse, guilt, and reconciliation goes on and on forever. This is essentially Drake and Josh's complicated relationship, only they are famous. And while most of you all probably have that type of relationship in your life, nobody knows about it. They have millions of followers diving and dissecting these extremely complicated nuances. So is their beef officially over? Well, this podcast would indicate so, but it's more likely that they are just in the reconciliation stage of their complicated relationship cycle. Maybe they will do another collab soon and seem like they are on great terms. But if their relationship is
they just be on and off,
think it's only a matter of time before the cycle repeats and fans start wondering again, hey, what's going on with Drake and Josh? I thought they were friends.
W watch. Yeah, W video again, Pat. It does just seem like they just some up and down topsy turvy bros. I'm not gonna lie.